Have you ever wondered how someone so blessed with unparalleled wisdom and extraordinary riches could also be responsible for his own downfall? This is the story of Solomon, a king whose name echoes through history for both his glorious achievements and his tragic defeats. Solomon, a central figure in the Bible, is widely remembered for his wisdom, wealth, and power. The son of the famous King David and Bathsheba, his reign is often described as Israel's golden age. However, behind all this greatness lies a cautionary tale. A man who, despite his divine wisdom, succumbed to the temptations of idolatry and human passions, resulting in the division of the kingdom he worked so hard to unify. Solomon's story begins in a setting filled with political intrigue and rivalry for the throne of Israel. Despite having older brothers whose claim to the throne might seem more legitimate, Solomon's rise was no accident but part of a divine plan. From the beginning, his destiny was wrapped in heavenly mystery. God promised David that one of his sons would build a temple in his name and consolidate peace in Israel. Near the end of David's life, while facing the threat of usurpers to the throne, Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, along with the prophet Nathan, intervened to ensure that God's will was fulfilled. David, recognizing God's direction, declared Solomon his successor. Thus, the young prince became king, taking on a divine mission to lead Israel. Shortly after being crowned, Solomon had a dream that would change his life forever. In Gibeon, God appeared to him and offered an extraordinary gift. "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Demonstrating rare humility and maturity, Solomon did not ask for wealth, long life, or victory over his enemies. Instead, he asked for wisdom, a discerning heart to govern his people and distinguish between right and wrong. This choice pleased God so much that he not only granted Solomon wisdom, but also riches and honor beyond any expectation. Thus began Israel's golden age. Solomon's wisdom quickly became legendary. He stood out as a symbol of justice and discernment, ruling with decisions that inspired trust and admiration. One of the most famous episodes of his reign is the story of two women who claimed to be the mother of the same baby. Each asserted her maternal rights, and the case seemed impossible to solve. Solomon, with cunning and clarity, ordered the baby to be cut in half, giving one half to each woman. The true mother, in an act of sacrificial love, begged that the child be given to the other woman, preferring to lose him than see him killed. Solomon immediately identified the rightful mother and returned the child to her, demonstrating the depth of his wisdom. This judgment not only cemented his reputation as a just king, but also showed that his wisdom came from divine understanding. Under his rule, Israel prospered like never before. Solomon built the long-awaited temple in Jerusalem, an architectural masterpiece that became the center of worship to God and a symbol of the divine covenant with Israel. His wealth, influence, and power attracted leaders from around the world, such as the famous visit of the Queen of Sheba, who was amazed by his wisdom and the riches of his kingdom. However, despite his greatness, Solomon was not immune to human weaknesses. In his quest for political alliances and prosperity, he became involved with many foreign women, allowing idolatry to enter Israel. The heart that once sought to please God began to stray, and he erred by building altars for pagan gods, violating divine commandments. This spiritual betrayal brought disastrous consequences. God, displeased with Solomon's disobedience, declared that the kingdom would be divided after his death, a fate that would mark Israel's decline. Solomon's story is both an inspiration and a warning. It teaches us that even when endowed with extraordinary gifts, we can lose ourselves if we stray from God. His life illustrates the power of discernment and humility, but also the dangers of giving in to temptations. Solomon is remembered not just for his wisdom and achievements, but also for the mistakes that serve as a reminder of the importance of staying faithful to God's will. Solomon's fame grew extraordinarily, spreading quickly to neighboring lands. His wisdom became legendary, attracting kings, sages, and merchants from various regions. Among these illustrious visits, none was as remarkable as that of the Queen of Sheba. Known for her intelligence and wealth, this monarch traveled great distances to verify if the rumors about Solomon's wisdom were true. Upon arriving in Jerusalem, the queen subjected Solomon to a series of intellectual challenges, presenting him with riddles and questions that required exceptional reasoning. To her surprise, Solomon answered each of her questions with clarity and ease. However, more than his wisdom, what impressed the queen the most was the greatness of his kingdom. Magnificent marble palaces, lush gardens, splendid banquets, and flawless administration demonstrated the organization and opulence of Israel under Solomon's reign. At the end of her visit, the Queen of Sheba admitted that the stories she had heard about Solomon did not do justice to reality. She offered valuable gifts and declared that Solomon's wisdom and justice were clear reflections of God's favor on his life. This visit not only reinforced Solomon's reputation as the wisest and richest king of his time, but also elevated Israel to new heights of prestige, inspiring leaders from various regions to seek alliances and counsel. One of Solomon's greatest projects was the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem, a dream initiated by his father, King David. Although David wished to build a house for the Lord, God revealed that this mission would be carried out by his son. Solomon, with zeal and devotion, embraced this sacred task, determined to erect a work that honored God and reaffirmed the people of Israel's commitment to their faith. The construction of the temple was a grand undertaking requiring detailed planning and unmatched resources. Solomon procured the finest materials available: cedars from Lebanon, pure gold, precious stones, and high-quality marble. Thousands of workers dedicated themselves for 7 years to building the temple, which would be more than just a structure. It would be a symbol of the covenant between God and Israel. Skilled artists and craftsmen decorated the temple with intricate ornaments filled with spiritual significance. When the temple was completed, Solomon organized a dedication ceremony that gathered all the people of Israel. During the event, he knelt before the altar, raised his hands to the heavens, and offered a heartfelt prayer, asking God to dwell in the temple, hear the prayers of his people, and forgive their sins when they repented. In response, a cloud descended from the sky, filling the temple with divine glory, an undeniable sign that God accepted this work. This manifestation of God profoundly marked the people and reaffirmed his blessing over Solomon and Israel. The Temple of Jerusalem became the spiritual heart of the nation, a place where heaven and earth met and where prayers could be heard. Beyond being an architectural landmark, the temple symbolized Solomon's dedication to God's will, solidifying his position not just as a wise king but also as a deeply devoted leader. With the temple completed and peace established in his kingdom, Solomon ruled during an unprecedented period of prosperity and abundance. Under his leadership, Israel became a cultural and commercial hub, attracting caravans of merchants from various parts of the world who brought with them riches, spices, and treasures. This prosperous reign reflected Solomon's wisdom, faith, and commitment to honoring God and serving his people. Solomon is a historical and biblical figure who transcended his fame as a wise king to become a multifaceted example of leadership, diplomacy, and wisdom. During his reign, Israel reached the peak of its prosperity and stability, largely due to his political strategies and ability to forge alliances. This golden age was marked by great advancements in infrastructure, with the construction of fortified cities, roads, and ports that encouraged trade and facilitated the transport of goods and wealth. Solomon's opulence became legendary. His palace was a symbol of luxury, adorned with magnificent gardens filled with exotic plants, water fountains, and impressive sculptures. The temple built in Jerusalem, dedicated to the God of Israel, became a landmark of faith and one of the greatest achievements of his administration. However, what truly set Solomon's reign apart was his ability to inspire people to follow principles of justice and wisdom. He left a rich literary legacy of proverbs and songs that served as life lessons for future generations. Yet, as the years passed, Solomon's heart began to change. His increasing wealth and power brought temptations he could not resist. The marital alliances, initially seen as strategic for strengthening political ties, became a spiritual trap. Solomon married women from various kingdoms, such as Moab, Ammon, and Egypt, many of whom practiced idolatrous worship. These external influences led him away from his initial devotion to the God of Israel. Gradually, hills and valleys once dedicated to the worship of the one true God came to house altars and sacrifices to foreign deities. This spiritual deviation not only compromised his relationship with God, but also deeply impacted the stability of his kingdom. The wise administration that once defined him began to be questioned, and popular discontent grew. In his relentless pursuit of wealth and pleasure, Solomon imposed high taxes and forced labor, causing resentment among the tribes of Israel. Leaders like Jeroboam gained strength among the dissatisfied, planting the seeds of the division to come. When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam took the throne, but his lack of discernment worsened the crisis. Instead of easing the people's burdens, he increased taxes and oppression, leading to open rebellion. The northern tribes, tired of exploitation, broke away and formed the Kingdom of Israel, while the south remained as the Kingdom of Judah. Solomon's legacy is a mix of glory and warning. While his wisdom and accomplishments are remembered, his spiritual downfall and the consequences of his choices serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of pride, unchecked ambition, and straying from God. In the texts attributed to him, such as Ecclesiastes, we find the deep reflections of a man who, at the end of his life, recognized the futility of many of his efforts and sought a greater meaning. The story of Solomon invites us to reflect on our own lives. Are we seeking to honor our values and principles, or are we being seduced by the glitter of fleeting and empty things? Just like the wisest king of Israel, we too can learn from our choices and find in humility and connection with God the true path to wisdom and peace. Share this lesson with those you believe could benefit from this reflection, for Solomon's story continues to teach valuable lessons to humanity.